Hey everybody, this is Stitch 1993 here again. Welcome to a brand new year of toy reviews. This is my first toy review of 2024. And if you haven't checked out my previous reviews, I've definitely like and subscribe. And after you check out this video, go back. I do reviews of Cubix, Mr. Potato Head, Toy Story. But today we're going to look at one of my favorite action figure series made by Fisher-Price and coming out in the mid-2000s. It is Planet Heroes. This is technically, I guess, would be considered a spin-off of the Rescue Heroes line that released a couple years earlier. And this goes over, at the time, the 9 planets plus some of the villains here. Now, I have most of the mainline figures. I have some variants. I don't have 100% of this toy line. Unfortunately, one of the figures is a little out of my price range right now, so I'll show a picture of him at the end, just kind of going over him. But for the rest of them, I'm going to go over a little review over all the figurines and show whatever variants I have, as well as weapons and accessories, as well as other toys that came out for this line. And I'll even go over the comic book series and the DVD series that released for this as well. So sit back and relax as we go over the Planet Heroes toy series. So we're going to go over these in numerical order as the planets are, as well as how they are listed on. You'll see both on, most of these come with a vehicle, so the sticker will show the number on there as well as somewhere on their chest. So first is, of course, Mercury, closest planet to the sun, nicknamed Zip for the toy line. His accessories were a small gun and a two-wheeled vehicle that, when rolled back, has a spring action where when you roll it back and let it go, it will zip. So going over the basic figure, I'm going to show you all the posability of the figure, and then we'll show how his action, in regards to this one, it's his vehicle, how it works. So we've got this was a pretty decent line in far to posability for most of these figures, as you'll see here, starting with Zip. Of course, he's got a swivel in his neck, so he can turn his head full side to side right here. It seems he may have something in his neck that keeps it from going all the way 360 there, but that's fine. We do have joints in both the shoulders so that they can go up and down, as well as side to side right here. We have hip joints so that he can sit, as well as, again, go from side to side. And we even have knee joints, so he can pose him a bit more when he's sitting on his vehicle, and the shoes even swivel from side to side just to give a bit more posability in that as well. Paint job for this is pretty decent, if not a little basic. You've got the yellow with a little bit of gray and black painted over here. Most of the plastic is this kind of soft rubber, except for his chest and his feet. They're more made of hard plastic. You'll see in most of these figures they have little grooves on the bottom of their feet. Some of the other figures, some of their accessories have pegs on them, and although the are round pegs, you can still kind of fit them in any of these larger holes here, so that really almost any of the figures can use any of the other figures' accessories. His gun that he comes with is just one big sculpted piece painted black. It too is made out of the softer rubber there, and all these figures have the same hand size, so no matter which figure you have, they can all hold in either hand the accessory like that. Putting him to the side right here. Looking at the vehicle, as I said, there is stickers. They're already pre-applied on when you would purchase these. So we've got a sticker of the number 1 on both sides here. And for the most part, it's the hard plastic. We'll get into the seat here in a little bit. The wheel is of a soft rubber, at least for the tread it is, and you can see, it can freely spin, as well as the smaller. This one's made out of a harder plastic. That one can also freely spin. There is a, don't know if you can see it really good right there, but there is a little contraption in there so that when you pull it back, it will, and let it go, it will move forward. But of course, you can also just kind of move it back and forward on your own. Now, there is a seat with a notch in here, and some of these figures do have a notch on the butt, so that way when you're sitting them down, you don't have to worry about them falling off. So you can even pose him to where he is not even really sitting on the vehicle there, and then we can just roll him back and he will go forward. I'll take the figure off so you can see it better. Just roll it back and let go. Alright, so next we've got, of course, Venus, aka Dazzle, and she is unfortunately the only female character in the entire Planet Heroes line. The Rescue Heroes was a bit better at making sure there was mostly equal in regards to male and female characters, but Planet Heroes, most of them are alien creatures that are male voiced, at least. But she is, Dazzle is the only female in the entire crew, other than the, in the DVDs, I believe there is a kind of robot in the system who also has a female voice. So she comes with two accessories here. We've got a gun and a little flame shield. Unfortunately, I don't have all the pieces to the gun. I'm missing a little piece in the back here that has glitter in it, that when you move it back and forth makes it look like there's flames. And of course I'm missing the piece where you can shoot out, but I will go over the figure itself and its posability. Alright, so Dazzle doesn't have as much posability as Zip does, but she does have a good bit. So of course we've got the head swivel, where again there is something that causes it not to be able to move the full 360 degrees. And actually with her, you can't really even move it even 180. There is something that stops it right there, so she can really only look fully over her right shoulder, and then a little bit of a straight on for the rest of it. She does have joints in her both of her shoulders, so that she can go out and up and down. Same with this, the other one. Fortunately, no joints in the hands or the elbows. And then as far as legs, we only have the hip joints that can move back and forth. She cannot move the hips. There's no joints to move them outward, and there's no joints in the knees or even in the feet. But as you see, as previously with Zip, there is the grooved feet at the bottom, so that she, like all the other figures, can use any of the other accessories. Speaking of accessories, we'll move her over here really quick. We've got the flame shield, which has the same peg shape as Zip's gun, as you'll see for all these accessories. So as I said before, any of the characters can hold and wield these items. So you got the flame shield, that is just one solid piece of plastic, a little bit of the soft rubber, so it does have a little give to it there. And then we've got the gun, which again, we're missing a piece in the back here that would hold a glitter canister, and then we're missing the piece in the back there that would, when fully pressed in, would cock this little trigger here at the top, and then you would be able to shoot it. And again, at the bottom, got that same style of peg as the shield. Moving on. Alright, next we've got Ace for Earth. Third planet, of course. he came with quite a bit of accessories here. It's still considered 2, but he was one of the bigger figures in regards to box size at retail. So he had a vehicle that came with him that had quite a bit of action to it. So then looking more closer to the figurine here, he has about the same posability as Dazzle did. So as you'll see here, he's got the same swivel joints at both of his arms. And of course he doesn't have any joints in his legs outside the hip joints so that he can sit down. And there is the pegs, which we'll show these in a little bit. And as for his helmet, it can be removed. So this is considered an accessory, is made out of a very soft plastic, so it has a good bit of give. And then his head swivels just from side to side, just like that. Put that right back on there. Move him to the side. And as for his accessory, he had a skateboard. So it had a little piece on the top here with a monitor showing some of the planets. It has that same little peg there at the bottom so that he or any other character could hold it. It's all made out of soft plastic, so if it was one of the taller figures, you can still kind of give it a stretch to where some of them may be able to hold it. It really was made for at least his height, so you could probably use like Dazzle or Zip or some of the other shorter characters, and they would be able to hold it much more easier. As you can see with the skateboard, it does roll freely, so all 4 wheels spin. The 4 wheels are made out of a bit of soft plastic, but the rest of the skateboard is pretty hard type plastic. As you'll see, you got the sticker with the number 3 logo on there. And then you've also got this button here at the top to release so that the skateboard can, quote-unquote, fly. And then we also have the little Planet Heroes logo there at the front there. And those can just easily click back in like that. And so you see with the peg here, this little middle one right here, you just fit it. Sure, I'm fitting it on there just right. You gotta give a little bit of elbow grease, but he will stand on it just well, just like that, with no issues when moving it around for play. Alright, so now we have number 4 Mars, aka Digger. For a couple of these, there were 2 variants. There was the bigger vehicle variant and then the smaller accessory variant. So here we've got the smaller accessory variant here, and he's got 2 of them. One of them is a shield, and one of them is the accessory where he gets his name, Digger. And you'll notice there's a little tab there. We'll go over that in just a little bit, but I want to go over the figure first because he's got very interesting posability that is exclusive to just his figure. So for the most part, he's got about the same amount of posability as previous figures have. Of course, he has the swivel at the neck here, which again can only move from side to side. He has the leg joints so that he can sit down. He's got, of course, the grids on the bottom of his feet, and then for his elbows they do swivel in and out and side to side. But because of one of his accessories, he has an extra joint in both of his arms. He has an elbow joint there, so he can move in at a 90-degree angle for both of his knees right there. And that's going to help with his main accessory here, the digging accessory. So you'll see it's got 2 handles on here, so really any of these figures can hold him, or hold the figure. They do have a little bit of a swivelness in them, so if it's one of the larger characters or shorter characters, you can kind of maneuver it around. But it is mainly built just for him, so that both of his hands can grasp onto it firmly. And then what you want to do is just pull this tab and let it go. That's really fun. I really like the noise it makes. We'll do that one more time. and just straight little pull string. You can also, of course, move this manually as well. It's not really going to break it as much, but I wouldn't suggest doing that too much there. And then, of course, we do have the shield. Nothing special with this other than it does have the same little hook, little peg, so that anybody can use it again. So next on the list is Jupiter, number 5, aka Gustus. He was one of the larger figurines for the main cast here, and he is, at least for the first line, eventually a bunch of the other figures would get their own animals just like the Rescue Heroes line did, but he was one of the first to have an animal figurine that comes with him. I don't remember the name of the dog here. I even looked it up. I believe it's just considered a robot dog. I don't know if it ever had a name. So looking at Jupiter himself, he probably is one of the few that has the most limited in regards to joints. I'll go over those really quick there, and then I'll go over his action, and then we'll go over his pet robot dog. So really, he cannot swivel his head. He can move his, of course, waist, and you'll hear that clicking. That will we'll go into that in a little bit. And then his only other movement is his elbow joints. So he is, and they're loose. So I'm not sure if that's just because of age or if they're always been loose. So you can move them up and down and side to side. Same with the other one here. Now if you'll look in the back here, you see that there is this large trigger right here at the bottom of his waist. And what you want to do is when you press it down, I kind of want to make sure, at least for me, I kind of got to do it from a weird angle. I'm sure if you're a little kid, it's not as troublesome. So you're supposed to be able to just, there you go. He kind of does a little 360 action like he's punching around in a circle. Kind of like a TikTok in Return to Oz. And yeah, anytime you do that, he is going to be making that clicking sound. So it gets a little annoying after a while. Next, we have the robot dog. Honestly, I think the robot dog has more posability than Gustus does. So his head does swivel from side to side, and all four of his legs do swivel at the top joint right here, just from up and down. As you can see, he too has the grids on his feet, and looking at him, yeah, Gustus does have his as well. And then you'll notice here, it's kind of been popping out a couple of times, his tail can deploy these little side arms. Now, I believe these are supposed to be holding weapons. They have, looks like, the basic shape of most of the hands here. However, they're made out of a bit of a harder plastic, so they're not as malleable so that any of the little accessories can kind of just click in. You really got to force it in. With this guy, I didn't want to do that just because it may break. Also, the other issue is because these swivel to the front, anytime you try to press one in, it's going to kind of push this back into the body there. So that is a bit annoying as well. But either way, he's just a cool figure to have, and one of the few dogs and animals in this series. I do want to go over Gustus's paint job, just because what's very interesting is both of his both of his shoulders have very nicely painted detail of the terrain of Jupiter, and of course it matches the rest of his color with the gray for the robot and the orange for the planet there. And then we've got just kind of a basic paint job for the dog. We do have a bit more detail in the face there. I don't know if you can see it that well, but there's a visor with a tiny little eye, kind of like the robots from the Cylons from Battlestar Galactica there. Alright, so next on the list is number 6, Saturn, aka Rings. He was one of the much bigger figurines, much more expensive figurines originally released. As you can see, he is one with a really big vehicle, and then of course the figure itself is pretty big as well. He's probably about as tall, if not taller, than Augustus lengthwise there, or height-wise there. So we'll go over the figure itself, and then I'll show the action for the vehicle there. So Rings has about the same posability as most of the figures. However, there is a slight difference, and we'll go over that in a little bit. So first I want to kind of take your attention to his head. As you'll see, there is a dome, a Saturn Rings dome around his head. And you would think, oh, because of that, his head's not going to be able to swivel. But no, so I'm not sure if you're able to see it, but right by the neck there, at the bottom, there's a little notch, so it's not fully round. It's kind of flat right there, and the way that the dome helmet is on him, it's mesh with that flat portion right there. So when you turn the helmet, it turns the head, and because of the way he's built, he is able to turn his head full 360 degrees there. And I want to just show, see if we can get better. I know it's not good, but I love the detail in his just facial sculpt, the eyebrow, kind of cocked eyebrow, and the smile underneath. But if you look closer, his entire head has all these little bumps and ridges on it, and it amazes me that they went into all that just to have this entire helmet on top of it that kind of obscures it a little bit there. So going into the regular posability for the figurine, of course, we do have the shoulder joints as usual, and we've got the leg joints as usual, and of course he does also have the holes in the feet. But for him, especially because of how his vehicle is built, he is one of the few ones that has a swivel joint in both of his hands. So now let's move on to the vehicle here. So this vehicle has had some love to it. I bought this used, so this chipping here was already there. So if you find it, in one in better condition, probably search it out. But honestly, this just kind of adds character to it. It is made out of a hard plastic all the way around, and you'll see here that there is this peg sticking out here in the back. Unlike Zip, where he had a little slot on his butt, Rings just has a peg in the back of his back to fit him on there. And we've got a couple stickers, like some little keypads on the left and right side here. You've got the Planet Heroes logo, and then on the back you've got this nice detail, almost kind of reminds me of like 70s, 80s, 90s rock album covers. Just the way it's colored, kind of chrome with this red and yellow lights beaming through here. So on the top here, if you'll see, there is some little individual rings. I believe it's supposed to come with maybe about 4 or 5, but I only have 2. And there's this trigger in the back here, so if you push it forward, it is going to automatically launch. And you can, I've used this a couple times. You can actually, if you have a good area, good space, you can launch these probably good 10 or so feet, if not further, because it's all based on how you push it. So you can, and it just comes out that slot right there, and then it's just that. So it does roll freely, and then of course, as you saw earlier, he can fit on it, and these two I guess arms can come up. You kind of want to put the figure on, that I'll show you, kind of want to put the figure on the seat and then just kind of guide the hands onto the armrests, because otherwise it's a bit difficult getting him on. So after you got him like that, kind of just line his arms up and just kind of push it through like that. There you go. And then you do the same with the other side. Alright, I believe we're about halfway through with these figurines here. Just a reminder, if you like these reviews, make sure to like and subscribe for future ones. I'll be going over other figure sets that I grew up with this year, including more Potato Heads, more Cubix figures, and some other little one-offs that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about. So, moving on to number 7, aka my favorite of this entire series. Alright, so number 7, as I said, this is my favorite figure, Yuri, aka Uranus or Uranus, however you want to pronounce it here. And I just really like the design of this guy. He's kind of got like a gecko, maybe a chameleon type of shape to him, and it just always drew me close to him when first checking out this figure series here. And we'll go over his accessories as well as what his action is supposed to be. Alright, so looking at the figure closer to here, he's got a lot of moving parts on him. I'll go over, but again, just like rings, I just want to take some time to look at just the detail in his face here. Not sure how well it shows up on camera, but he's got this nice kind of, if you hear that ridginess to his entire face here. It just, I love it. And it goes with these cheeks as well. So as you already can see, he's got a swivel in his head, so you can go full 360 degrees, but he's also got a hinge so that he can look both up and down as well. For his hands, for his arms, he's got the swivel joints in his shoulders, as well as swivel joints in his I guess elbows or hands. Kind of short, so it could be either one, and that's the same for both of these, both arms. And then we go down to the feet, and he's got the joints, swivel joints, so that he can move them outwards and to the side for both of them. Now you'll notice on the bottom of these feet here, as well as his gun, they have plungers. Now I can't really show it off here because this toy is almost at least 15 years, almost 20 years old as the recording of this video, and you can already see some of the rubbers kind of dried out here. But what you used to be able to do is, because of the suction cups, you were able to kind of attach them almost to any surface here. Yeah, they're not going to do that anymore. And same with his gun. So he's got two accessories. He's got the main, I call plunger gun. So he's got this, you just click it in just like that, and then with this little scope right here, it comes on a string so that it will shoot out and you won't get lost. It's supposed to be so it'll shoot it and it'll like stick to something and he climbs up, kind of like Batman. So next we've got just a regular, now you would think it's just a regular gun, but if you notice really close here, there is a little piece of metal poking out on both sides there. And the reason for that is really cool. So as I said, he's got this kind of a chameleon look to him, and because of that, he has a tail. And he's the only character to have a tail. So, and right here you'll see there's a little bit of metal embedded in there as well. And that is so that with this, it magnetizes onto there, and now he can shoot with his tail, as well as have one hand free. Well, I guess he's climbing using the plunger gun. I want to bring to notice really quick here, all these figures have guns, and you know, with the Rescue Heroes line, it kind of made sense through their accessories because they were cops, firefighters, you know, people that were using, they would usually have more of like stuff that would be with their job here. But these are all aliens, And this series, toy series, was only meant for like 3 to probably 7 years old. I just found it hilarious that all these figures have guns with them, except for a couple of them that we'll get to. But yeah, just was kind of hilarious that way. But as I said, favorite figure. I even really love this nice teal, bluish green color he's got going on here. Really jumps out. Of course, you got this number 7 sticker on him. I just love that that determined, almost angry if you look him on head on, scoped for his eyeballs there, and there's this tiny little slot for a mouth. Alright, moving on. Alright, so number 8, probably my second favorite character of this series. This is Neptune, aka Toon. And he was probably one of, if not the biggest figures to buy, just because of the size of his vehicle here. That is all one part. It came as all as one part. There was no assembly for that. So when you bought the figure, it came in this huge blister pack box there. And I'll try to find an image online and post it here just so you can see just how big that was. The vehicle itself does have an action feature, as well as the figure itself doesn't really have an action feature, but does have a really cool just figure feature that we'll go into first. Alright, so looking at the figure here, he's got pretty much the same basic overall movements. He's got the shoulder movements, he's got the hip movements, and he's even got a swivel joint in both of his elbows right here. And I did just notice on the scope while I was taking him off the vehicle, I just noticed this. I don't know why I've never noticed it before, but his left hand, it's got a hole through it. The right hand does not. So it was just interesting. I guess you could he does still have the hand sculpted to hold guns and stuff, but he just, just a little extra detail, which is why I love these figures so much. They always put so much detail into them. So if you've noticed already, there is a bit of liquid in his head. So the head is translucent. And I'm sure that there was more liquid back when the figure first came out, but of course it's going to slowly evaporate or leak out of the figure. I don't know which. So, but I'll try to close, try to show just a little bit of water. Maybe about halfway full. And it goes kind of down there. So just thought that was interesting for of course the quote-unquote water planet. So looking at the vehicle itself, as I said, this is all one part. There isn't really much movable parts here outside of these little handlebars that can swivel all the way around, just so whichever figure you're putting on there, it's going to be easier for him or her to hang on to. Now for the action piece here, it's going to be a little hard to show off, but it is a wind, I guess, maker. So you would pull this little tab right inside here, pull it back, and it would blow out air through here. So I don't know if it's strong enough to like blow one of the action figures down. No, but let's try something like a piece of paper here. So I've got the comic book. We're going to just sit that up here. There we go. Let's try that. We're going to pull it back here. There we go. So that is number 8. We got one more figure, and then we'll go into some of the spin-off, or not spin-off, some of the other figures that weren't based on planets. Alright, so number 9, back when this toy line started, Pluto was still considered a planet. Now, no, it's not really considered a planet now. I believe it's a dwarf moon. But back when this came out, 2006, 2007, it was still taught as one of the planets. So that is why it's one of the planet heroes here. So we've got Pluto, aka Shivers. And just like Toon, he was one of the bigger figures in regards to blister pack, just because of the massiveness of that vehicle. As you can see, the figure as to the planet Dwarf Moon is very small compared to all the other figures, but this chunk of a vehicle is why it was one of the bigger ones. This was also one of the rarer figures out there when these were initially run. Like, you would find Ace, Toon, Gustus, all of them, but it was Shivers that was really hard to track down from what I remember when going and looking at all them in the stores, Toys R Us, Walmart, Kmart. It was just Target. It was just really hard to find him. So let's look over the figure really quick, and then we'll go over the vehicle. Alright, so Shivers has probably about the same movement as all the other figurines do. As you can see, he's only, about 4 inches tall, if that. But he still has the head swivel, still has the shoulder, even though it's a bit more limited, still has the shoulder joint there for both arms. And he's got the leg movements. However, they are one piece. So if you move one leg, the other leg is going to come with it. You cannot move these individually. I guess that's how they were able to get his torso so small, is just have the one piece, one leg piece. And of course, grids at the bottom. And I really like the detail in this guy here. He's got 3 eyeballs, got some headphones on, he's got these awesome shoulder pads and these boots with a purple color throughout. So just great. Alright, let's look at the vehicle now. So here is the snowmobile, and this is a really cool vehicle in my opinion because it can't fit not one but 2 action figures here. So you can have, I'm pretty sure Shivers is the only one that is going to be able to fit up front just because of how short it is. But back here, you can probably fit really any of the other figurines, and even these little handles here. They can kind of move, not as much as some of the other vehicles can. But yeah, they can kind of move. Unfortunately, I am missing also the projectile piece for this. So this button right here is what would shoot that projectile. However, if you can see, there is another button right here. So I guess it's supposed to be a ship at first, and then it transforms into a snowmobile. So just a little cool action figure piece. Of course, this has some rollers on the bottom that free roll, so you can, just like all the other vehicles, move it around as such. So that was all the planets here. Next we're going to go over some of the side good guys, and then we'll look at the villains for last. Alright, so next we have one of the first side characters introduced. This is the Shooting Star, aka Shooter. And I forgot to bring this up earlier, but each of these figures, when they were released, came with a little card, little index, character card. And so these are the ones I have from my childhood. I don't have all of them. These are just the 4 that I owned growing up. I had Star, Moon, Tiny, and Zip. And so each of these cards would, of course, show a 3D render of the character itself. And then on the back, it would give some facts about what it is actually representing, and then some character facts underneath there. So with further ado, we're going to look at Star now. So Star right here has about the same basic movement points as most of the other figures in this line. Of course, he has the swivel head, and he has these little, I guess, like part of his collar, part of his suit that keeps it from turning any more than about a 45-degree angle either way. He does have joints in his shoulders so that he can move left and right and up and down. And because this is one of the older figures, ones I've had since my childhood, the joint have kind of loosened up over the years. If you can kind of see the little wiggling there, I'm not sure how to remedy that. Everything looks like it's in place. I've tried like squeezing it and putting it in shove. I think just like the heat over time has kind of widened the gaps here. So some of these, they're just going to fall right down. If you find them new, they're going to see that one's able to pose. But if you find some older ones, don't be surprised if some of the joints don't stay up. So of course, and then we've got the hip joints, so he can go into like the sit down position. Of course, he's got the grids on his feet here, and he came with a vehicle and also a I would guess you would call it a gun. So we've got this cool little shooter here, and I'll show you how it works in just a second. Of course, it's got the peg underneath, so anybody can hold it. I'm going to put it in his good arm, and yeah, that's kind of sagging. And then he came with a surfboard here. It's got these 2 stickers that were already put on it when you got it, and it has these pegs that coincide with the grids on his feet, so you should be able to just stick it right there. And there's no wheels on this though. It's just kind of is on a stand, so it does have a little bit of an angle there when it sits, but it is just one full piece of plastic there. Now, you see there is these P little discs here. Those can be popped out. There's even a hole in the back to help pushing them out. And it comes with 3 discs. I have been able to keep all 3 of them, surprisingly, with me throughout all these years. And what you would do is you take one of the discs and you just insert it into the gun right here. It'll automatically open up wide like that. And then to just shoot it, you just squeeze on both sides, and you can actually get some really good air like that. And this was probably one of my favorite figures of the line. Just I liked just the design. He kind of looked like a robot, even though he wasn't. And then I don't have a lot of the figures in the second line, but later on in about 2008, 2009, they re-released a lot of the same figures with a chrome body of sorts. So for Shooter, it came with, I believe, all the same vehicle parts and pieces, but here is the chrome version. As you see, he's got the nice gold on him just compared to it. The colors have reversed, so now the star in his chest is a gray instead of the yellow there, but pretty much everything else is the same there. And as you can see, this one's been a bit more better shape, so he can pose much better there, but same, all the same points of articulation, same neck turn, so same molding and everything here. I was looking on the bottom of the foot earlier to see if it had a date, but it did not. But I want to say the re-releases with the chrome figures here came out around 2008 or 2009. Alright, so let's go on to the next good guy side character. Alright, so the next good guy side character is the Moon, aka Lunar, and he was also one of my favorites. It was funny, I really got into the series because of the main characters, but my favorite characters were the side characters. Let me know down in the comments if anybody else was like that with the toy line. If yeah, the main characters were great, but the side characters were even better. So we're going to look at the vehicle and the figure here. Alright, so looking at the figure Lunar, he is, I would say, probably one of the shorter characters in the action figure line. Just to give you an idea, here is Tiny right next to him, fully standing. So as you can see, still pretty tall. I think Tiny is one of the smallest action figures here, but Lunar comes in at a close second. So same with all the other figures, same points of articulation here. He's got the head swivel, and because of the way his chin is sculpted, he bumps into his collar here. Try to get a bit closer here. So he can only move that 45-degree angle right there. And same points of articulation in the shoulders. and in the hips. Though I believe, no, I thought he was able to move his hips outwards, but no, he can just move them in. I really like the sculpt on this one. If you can see, the shoes and his shoulders have this really nice detailed kind of moon surface texture all over them. Just love it. And his head's got a really cool scope. He's got these like headphones in the back here. I forgot what they were originally for, but yeah, just love that little, kind of reminds me of that one character from Star Wars. I'll put up an image here. Kind of reminds me of that character. So we're going to put him to the side here. And now we got his his lunar vehicle here. It does roll. I am missing, unfortunately, the projectile that goes into here. But you would put this little arrow right in here, and then press down on this trigger, and it would shoot it out. I believe if you bought this brand new, you did have to put this little flag on here in the back, and then but everything else was already on it, even the handles, and the handles can move a little bit depending on what character is sitting in this buggy. And as you saw earlier, I'll show it again, he can sit very easily without any, even though he does have a peg in his back, there's not a peg on the seat here, so he is just able to sit there. And then he is actually very interesting. So he has only one hand that's sculpted to like hold guns or hold like handles and everything, but his other hand is open, so you can't, and he didn't come with a weapon or anything to molded to fit this hand, so he just kind of has this one open hand right here. And just like him is one of the few figures I have a one of the re-releases of, where the did a chrome body. I'll show that to you here. So as you see, chrome, nice golden body here, same points of articulation. I do notice here that the went with a lighter color of green, just a shade lighter. This is kind of a lime green. I would say this is more of like a, maybe a soft kind of green, mossy green right here, which goes in. I have his buggy with me as well. Also missing the projectile, unfortunately. Everything is the same in design except for the color coding. As you can see, it's got that same, this one, the original has the lime green, while the lighter has this kind of a moss green to it. But everything else is the same, both roll same, both missing the projectile, but both would shoot the projectile just the same from this little trigger right here. Alright, so we got one more good guy side character to go through, and then we'll get to the villains. Alright, so on to the last of the good guy side character figurines here, and this is another star. This one is nicknamed Hollywood. So he's got this Evel Knievel type of style going on here with his body. I don't ever remember seeing this one in stores. This one did come out when all the other figures got re-released with the metallic paint job on them, but he was exclusive to that series. He was a new figure for that line there, and but he does not have a non-metallic version to him. As you can see, it comes with the vehicle, missing the projectile, but we'll go on to the figure itself here, and then we'll look into the vehicle really quick. Alright, so looking at the figure here, I kind of want to give a little size comparison. So he is almost the exact, if not the same exact size as Lunar here, just kind of staying them right beside each other. And then again, here's Tiny for the size comparison here. So about on level, probably just a bit shorter than Lunar, just because of Lunar's tip of his moon-shaped head right there. So putting those two to the side, this figure's probably got one of the fewest lines of articulation here, probably along the same amount of articulation as Pluto, as Shivers does. here. And I don't know why I keep calling him Tiny. Tiny is the bad guy, which we'll get to in a second here. Shivers is what I mean. So he does not have any head articulation at all. It's just one big piece here. He does have, of course, the shoulder articulation, as you can see, and then he does have the leg articulation. And unlike Shivers, he can move each of these legs individually. And he does have a little peg or grids, but he also has little peg holes here. So, but of course, he does have the hands, both of them, so that you can put a gun or a vehicle in. And speaking of which, we're gonna, and of course, look at the this is the metallic silver on his chest right here. For the most part, he's got this Evel Knievel look on him. I will say the one downside I don't like about this figure, he's probably the hardest to stand up, just because of how top heavy he is and how small his feet are. He's got they're literally star-shaped feet, so it takes a little bit of maneuvering to keep him balanced. Going on to his motorcycle here, it is just basically one big piece. There is you can move the handlebars in and out to depend on the character that's on him, but only so far. That is as far as they'll go there, but the rest is just one big piece of plastic. There's not even any wheels on here for its roll, so it just kind of slides, skids around, and then this button right here is where the projectile would be pressed down to shoot. But yeah, it's not even separate pieces. They just kind of painted this silver and this black, and then just kept, I guess, the rest red. And then these there's these stickers on both sides that were already on it. And yeah, so that is all of the good guys. Now we're going to get on to the villains, and then lastly we're going to look at the large ship that you could get. Alright, and now here are the villains. This is Professor Darkness, who came with, if you bought him, his accessories were 2 extra minions. So you had Proton and Neutron, and don't ask me which one is which. One was yellow, one was green, and I even think in the animated series DVDs, which we'll get to later on, I think that was one of the jokes, was you couldn't tell which one was which. There's no weapons, no vehicles. It was just the villain and his 2 minions here, the henchmen. But we'll go over the parts of articulation, and then we'll go on to more information on Professor Darkness, because he had some more interesting aspects of him, which made him one of the more expensive figures of the line. Alright, so first we're going to look at Photon and Neutron. It doesn't look like it, but they do have some points of articulation here. They are the smallest figures in line, just inching out Shivers by probably not even, maybe about a quarter of an inch there. So, but they have the same points of articulation. It's basically almost I believe it's the same mold for each, and then they just painted one green and one yellow. So we'll just go over one, because it's the same for both of them. So you have the head here that does have something stopping it from keeping it to be able to go full 360. So you can just do the 45 degrees both ways. And then he does have articulation in the wrists. And these can be moved full 360 here. And both of them do have pegs on the bottom of the feet because they're so small. Same right here. The rest of it is just one hard piece of plastic here. Basic color scheme. And yeah, even the same design, same little smirk or sneer for both of them there. Alright, so let's go on to Professor Darkness. Basically, he was a black hole. One thing that's interesting with him is there is nothing on the bottom of this. So he cannot, of course he can't sit in any vehicles, but he also can't stand on anything like the surfboard or anything like that. So very limited articulation here. Basically all you've got is the shoulder joints and these hands, which I love the hands. They're very overly stylized, just kind of almost skeleton-like, but also very animated looking fingers here. So you did have the wrist articulation that you could go all the way around for both here. So he does, the batteries are dead, it's so old, the wiring is fried, but if you are able to find one of these brand new that is still working, you'll see that there's this button right here on his belt that if you press it, his dome, his light would light up and he would say a few, villainous catchphrases here. And then later on, with some of the bigger characters, around the same time as the chroming look for the good guys, the bad guys and some of the bigger good guys, I believe these had VTech or something like them here. Again, this guy can't work, wiring's fried, so he kind of got a bit of an upgrade. Same thing for the base, same points of articulation, same button in the belt, but I forgot, I believe these could, if you had some of the other characters close to you, they could communicate with each other, very limited. But I still really like the original design, honestly. It reminds me of Emperor Zurg from the, not only just from the Toy Story line, but especially the way his arms are drawn, or sculpted, the Buzz Lightyear Star Command line here. But I mean, like, look at this cape, and they got rid of the cape for the he almost looks robotic in the new one, whereas this one just looks like this evil, probably underneath he's just actually just a whole bunch of gas and stuff, but this one looks like it's just a robot, which if anything, this looks like a minion or another henchman of sorts to this guy. So if you're playing with them, I honestly would just keep this as him, and this could just be like a doppelganger or a security guard or whatever. Interesting enough though, he did not come with a Photon and Neutron. He did not get any sort of new paint job. He actually came with a weapon that is a ray gun of sorts, and yeah, it's just one piece of plastic. And then he also came with this other radar piece, almost same scope for the front here, just a little bit bigger, and it's got the radar part can rotate here, but then everything else is just one big piece of plastic. Alright, so we're almost done here with the figures, and then I'm going to go over the comic book, and then lastly the 3 DVDs that would come with some of the figures here, and as well as the ship. Alright, so now we've got one of the other henchmen. This is Tiny. He is considered an asteroid, and this guy probably has one of the coolest action features. We'll get to it just a bit here, as well as some of the more interesting articulation. They really went all out with this figure, I think. And to show a demonstration, I kind of had to make part of this toy myself, because it's supposed to come with a boulder, and I lost the boulder. I don't know where it went. All these other figures were in one box, and yet all their accessories, for the most part, were nowhere to be found. No clue what happened to them. So yeah, let's look at the figure here. Alright, so Tiny has, and this is my one from Grown Up, so he's got some sun aging on him. I've got another one somewhere around here. It looks a little bit cleaner, but honestly I wanted to show off the one I had growing up here, so sorry if it kind of looks a bit dirty. That's just from good old rough playing with it. But these guys were built tough, so you could still collect them and still allow your kids to play with them, because honestly outside of losing some pieces for projectiles, these guys are, you know, sturdy. Articulation. He has got the shoulder joints. He has got the wrist movements. He's got the hip movement, and of course the grids on the bottom of his feet. And then for his head, neck, he's basically on this one little joint right here, so he can go up and down, kind of just along the line of his body. I always thought that was really cool, and I love the color design for him. I mean, yeah, he's an asteroid, but you got these nice teal colors here, and it goes around the back here. Speaking of the back, so this piece can be removed as such. So he's got the 3 holes in the back so that I can connect here. I'm going to just put him to the side. And then his action piece was a little launcher, and it was supposed to come with about a little about yay big boulder that was made of plastic that you could fit there, and it would launch. So to show that off, got some tinfoil that is roughly about the size, a little small, and it would fit as such, and then just like that. And what was cool, I'll try to do it here with the tinfoil as well. What was cool is, and again, I don't know how I lost the asteroid part, the boulder part, because when you were all done and set playing with it, the launcher could go out so far, and you could bend him to even allow for more space, that you could fit the asteroid right underneath him, just like that. And it would be a little bit tighter of a fit there, so if you picked him up, it would come along with them. So again, don't know how I lost one of these really big pieces here, but this guy was really cool. He was one of the ones I had growing up, so he got his card is kept. Alright, so let's get on to the last of the figures that I own. Alright, we're to the last figures that I own. This one is a Red Giant, aka Slash. He is, I believe, the biggest figure in the line overall height-wise. And he was exclusive, just like the Star Shooter was, Hollywood, to the new line, and he had that V system with him. Again, because of how old all these figures are, they're all corroded inside, so unfortunately I'm not able to show off any of the electronic features. But we'll go over the points of articulation here. Okay, so unlike Professor Darkness, this guy had a slew of points of articulation here, which I love. It's just so great. So of course we've got the head swivel, and he can, got stopper, but he can move to basically a 90-degree angle both ways. He does have the shoulder and the wrists, and of course he's one of the older ones, so it kind of, unless you're got it in the right position, it is gonna flop over. Same here. This is the only accessory he came with, this big sniper rifle, and it's got the same little peg, so really you can have any of your characters hold this big old sniper rifle here. And of course we've got the hip joints with the grids on his feet. And I just really love the design of this. He's got this kind of crazy look with one eye being bigger than the other. He's got these spikes on his head. Even the VTech antenna, which on some of these characters kind of looks out of place, it just looks right on him for some odd reason. And he's got the shoulder spikes, basically this whole kind of gladiator look going on for him here. Love the colors, the greens, the blacks just kind of pop out here. But we've also got nice detail on the sculpt in his hands and arms here, as well as his pants and shoes. And of course, if he was working, you could press the button here in the middle, he would be able to speak, and I believe he would speak to, he probably would speak to the robotic Professor Darkness here. So that is all the figurines that I own. Now there are, of course, all the main characters, I believe, got chromed bodied versions of themselves. I believe some of them even got released a third time with a pet. Because you know, eventually the Rescue Heroes, they all eventually came with a pet, so they try to redo the same thing with Planet Heroes. But by then the series was dying and it wasn't really popular, so it didn't last long after that. The one figure that I am missing is probably because it's the most expensive one. It is the Sun Commander. I'll post a picture here so you can see what he looks like here. He was the commander of the Planet Heroes. He was heavily showed off in at least 2 out of the 3 DVDs here. And he had 2 versions of himself. The original that came out in between the original release characters and the chromed, and then he got re-released with the VTech and a more battle armor version of himself here, which I'm not a big fan of. I love the more original design here, and I believe the original design, he had one accessory, and it was a phoenix that would sit on his shoulder arm. So let's get to the ship here. Alright, so this is the ship. This bad boy came out with the original series, and man, I always wanted one of these growing up. Finally was able to get one, and unfortunately, like everything else, the electronics don't work. But everything else does work. I even have the projectile for this one, surprisingly. So we're gonna look over that. But as you can see, this vehicle not only was able to house one figure, you were able to put a total of 3 figures in this ship here. And pretty much all of them could fit outside of some of the really big figures, like Gustus here. Gustus, unfortunately, would not fit in the ship. It was mainly meant for the medium-sized figures here and the smaller figures here. So I'm going to put 3 figures in here really quick just to show that off. Alright, so as you can see here, we got 3 of the figures in there, just show it off. So yeah, definitely the medium-sized figures here, more on the smaller side of the medium figures. And of course, these small figures would be able to nicely fit in there. I did have to finagle his tail there, but as you can see, he does fit in there. Really cool thing in regards to this ship here. Of course, there was a electronic piece we'll get to here in a little bit, but each of these little sidecars right here could be easily detached so that you could just lift it right off, and now they've got their own little ship. So you have another vehicle basically. You got, and the same thing goes for the one on the other side, and you could swap them too. So yeah, they just got this little rubber tab right here, and then a hole on the bottom. And I love that they even put in the detail on the bottom of these things. Like, they knew kids were going to be looking at the bottom of these things and you know, acting them out and stuff. So they put in more detail with there. And the little ships even have wheels on them. So let's look down here for a second here. So you could even, they could even roll. So awesome. So of course we've got a couple pieces of action going on here. So of course this one has a projectile on it, and I do have that, so it just fit in right there, and then press this little button and it would shoot off. On the other side though, probably one of the coolest pieces, it has this clamp, and yeah, I just love clamps like that. I'm not sure what exactly you could really fit into there. You couldn't really take a hold of the bad guys too much. I guess if you wanted to, you could like do that, but yeah, I don't know what exactly the clamp was for. It just looked really cool. So you have, it was meant of course to, you know, play with. So you have on the back here this handle, and with this handle you can just hold the entire ship and fly it around. And you had two buttons. You had this one right here that if you pressed it, it would just play the Planet Heroes theme song. You had this trigger on the side here that, as you can see, would send out the flame, and the flame would spin and light up, but again. And if you were playing with it and flying it around, and of course this would be for really smaller hands, but you can see my adult size hand fits really snugly in there, you had a trigger. And if you pull the trigger, it would make sounds and force that flame action out again. And of course you got these awesome stickers here on the back here, even on the bottom right here, kind of like a little speedometer kind of going on here. Yeah, it's stickers on the sides, and you even had the little Planet Heroes logo on not only the front windshield right here, but also on each of the sides right here. Now, this is just some paint chipping off just because it's old and it's been played with, but that's fine. So now we're going to go into the comic book that would come with the figures, and we're going to go into the DVD that would come with some of the figures. Alright, and on to the comic book here. So the comic book came with pretty much every figure. If it didn't come with a comic book, it came with a DVD. Now, you'll notice it says Volume 1 right here in the upper right hand corner. From the Wikipedia article, apparently there was a comic book to coincide with each of the 3 DVDs. However, I couldn't find any evidence that that was true. All I could find was the Volume 1, which is the one I had a couple of, because it came with almost every other figurine. But there may be out there, they may just been harder to find. So let me know if you have Volumes 2 or Volumes 3. Now, the comic book is kind of just a comic book version of the DVDs. So, and I'll go into the story and plot of the DVDs here in just a moment. So I'm not really going to go into the plot of the comic book. I do want to show the art because I really do like the artwork here for this comic book. Now, I'm not the biggest comic book reader, so I'm not, gonna say, oh, this is a good or bad comic book. I do like the art. The art seems fine to me. Pretty detailed and pretty accurate to what the characters look like or would look like in a 2D aspect. So, yeah, we get the introduction to Ace here, as well as a really nice stylistic introduction to Professor Black Hole. Get a nice, I wish they made a poster of this. This would have been cool. Just this, all the planets here at the bottom, as well as animated or comic book versions of each of the planet heroes themselves. More of the story. The story kind of stops about halfway through the episode, though. Interesting enough, it stops like right as they are all fighting each other. And then it says, if you want to find out more, go to our website. And then it's going to have, of course, a nice kind of photo shot of all the figurines that were out at the time, all the Wave 1. And then on the back here, it actually gives them more detail, the actual sets, including their number, their set number here, which was nice. All this, of course, we went over earlier, so I'm not going to go into details here. And so let's move on to the DVDs. Alright, now we're on to our last part of this video, which is the 3 Planet Hero DVDs. These were included randomly with figures starting from the very beginning and leading up until when they went into their metallic stage. With the last episode being included, my copy was with, of course, the Lunar figure, but it was also included in some of the later figures as well. So first is episode 1, Slingshot. Now this is the only episode that's like a full, almost 30 minutes long episode. Starting off, of course, the theme song is really earwormy. I still get this song stuck in my head sometimes, especially if I'm looking at the figures. Also, not sure if he knows, but definitely top-notch animation for the 2000s. Definitely not theatrical level, but this is, I would put it up there with like Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, and a couple other shows that were making rounds around this time. And I'm honestly surprised this never got turned into a full television series, because they had enough characters and stories to at least last at least a season, if not a couple. So we see Tiny, Photon, and Neutron are playing around until Professor Darkness advises they have a solar system to destroy. Then we see Ace on Earth skateboard racing against a bully. He tries to get the upper hand with a slingshot maneuver, but it fails. He soon gets a wristwatch call to turn into his Planet Heroes costume and head to the hero's base. We get an introduction to each of the Planet Heroes and their personalities, and then we get introduced to 2 Guardians who are never named and are the only characters in this episode to not ever have figures based off of them, though they seem somehow related to Professor Darkness due to the design. Now, this was probably to cut costs, because it looks like it's just Professor Darkness without his cape and with a paint coating. Very interesting that we get these guys show up again in episode 2. Never get a figure made out of them. The heroes are advised of the present danger before the Guardians leave to allow them to come up with a plan. They eventually figure that they can freeze the Megatronic cloud with some plutonium, which is of course located on Pluto. They split into 2 teams. One team is to head to Pluto, while the other to Uranus to finish building the Planet Hero spaceship. Professor Darkness sees this happening in kind of like a Wicked Witch of the West cloud and sends his minions to stop them. The heroes find some plutonium just as Tiny, Photon, and Neutron arrive to attempt to foil their plan and trap them in the cave. As this is going on, the other heroes finish work on the ship. Ace is still down about losing his race, but Rings gives Ace some sage advice about learning from your mistakes. The heroes all meet up on Pluto's surface. They load the plutonium to a torpedo, ready to aim it at the Megatronic cloud, but are stopped by Professor Blackhole, who activates the Megatronic cloud. A battle commences, and we get to see the spaceship in action, eventually firing the plutonium torpedo and thwarting the bad guys, but the cloud is still activated. Thankfully, Digger shows that he took a second plutonium crystal while they were trapped, but due to them being out of torpedoes, Ace volunteers himself to torpedo himself near the Megatronic cloud to toss the crystal into the cloud, saving the solar system. Ace then goes back to Earth and challenges the bully to a rematch, though the credits roll before we see the outcome. In episode 2, Here Comes the Sun, a new intro is made to include some of the new characters / action figures that are introduced in this episode, as well as were coming out and releasing in stores around the same time, Commander Sun and Shooter Star. This episode is significantly shorter, coming in at just 17 minutes instead of the 30 minutes the previous first episode was. The new and improved Professor Darkness shows off his shrink ray and plans to use it against the heroes. We see Shooter come across Saturn that has solar waves and decides to surf. At the Planet Heroes base, the heroes are in the process of setting up an alarm system known as SSAM, or SAM, and we get introduced to a computer program that is kind of like a AI system, which is another character we never get a figure of. As Ace is helping setting up the system, an alarm goes off, which is Shooter on Saturn, so Ace leaves to go check out the intruder. With Ace gone, Professor Blackhole invades the base and uses his shrink ray on Commander Sun. Blackhole explains that the actual sun is connected to Commander Sun, so now the actual sun will shrink. A distress order goes out to all the heroes to come back to base. They all return except Ace, who ignores the call and decides to surf with Shooter. The other heroes are caught off guard and are too shrunk and captured. Ace and Shooter go to check things out once they notice the sun getting smaller. They work together to commandeer the Shrink Ray to rescue the heroes and stop Professor Blackhole. Commander Sun powers the sun back to appropriate size, and the bad guys are all shrunk and sent hurtling through space. The heroes then destroy the ray so it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Ace is taught a lesson in responsibility and bids farewell to Shooter. This episode ends on a cliffhanger as the villains are caught by Slash, aka Big Red. Now, I don't remember if at this time Slash was actually out in stores or if he was still in design production, but we do get to see more of him in episode 3, The Ace That Jumped Over the Moon. The intro is the same as episode 2, and it also has the same runtime as episode 2. Professor Blackhole and his minions are seen capturing planet-eating creatures called Space Quarks, another thing that we never got to get a toy of. And we see Commander Sun welcoming Slash into the hero's base, unaware of Slash's intentions. The other heroes are busy working on a new vehicle for Ace and discussing which moon to dump some trash on. The conversation coming that the moon is always Earth's moon. Zip and Ace race with his new vehicle, but Ace spins out and crashes onto the moon. Slash is introduced to the other heroes as the newest member of the Planet Heroes. Back on the moon, Ace gets help from Lunar in fixing his vehicle. Ace is embarrassed about the trash being dumped on the moon, but Lunar advises he doesn't mind as he recycles it. Ace makes it back to base and tells about Lunar. Commander Sun explains that he and Lunar were one of the first Planet Heroes, but Lunar left because he failed to stop Professor Blackhole. Ace is then introduced to Slash. Suddenly, an alarm goes off advising of Professor Blackhole invasion of the base, but Slash turns on the Planet Heroes and captures most of them, with Ace escaping and Commander Sun telling him to go ask Lunar for help. Lunar doesn't want to help at first, though, due to his past history, until Ace shows him a video recording of Commander Sun asking for Lunar's help. The Quarks are released, but thankfully Lunar and Ace show up with Lunar's space cow Lola, another character / vehicle we never got a actual physical version of. We find out Quarks are a space cow's favorite food. The bad guys are of course once again thwarted, and the Planet Heroes are released. Ace and Lunar are awarded medals for saving the day, and the credits roll. Honestly, I would have liked if not every episode was about Ace saving the day, and I'm sure that the stories could have been expanded upon and possibly more characters introduced if the series went on longer. That's going to be it for now. There are a few things I wasn't able to cover due to availability, such as the Planet Heroes playset, some other vehicles, and a video game for the VTech cycle. Now I want to know what y'all's thoughts are on the Planet Heroes series. What was your favorite figure or vehicle, and did you grow up with this series, or is this your first time hearing about them? Let me know down in the comments, and until next time, thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.